Hey guys, I'm Ubiru and welcome back to World of Warships. Today I'll be showing you the Tier 6 American battleship, the USS New Mexico, which is one of the new ships available from the 0.3.1 update. So first things first with this ship, it does look very similar to the British HMS Warspite. Now this is the New Mexico, and this is the Warspite. So as you can see, the hull looks almost identical. The guns are obviously different and the tower's different, but the hull looks almost the same. So before I run through all the aspects of this ship, it's good to mention that early battleships in this game, early American battleships to be specific, tend to be very brawling ships, so they don't have a lot of max range on guns, but they have a huge amount of armour and very powerful guns. Okay, so let's look at the main stats of the USS New Mexico. So the first stat is survivability, and that's 64 out of 100. It has up to 53,200 health, and the moment in this version of Closed Beta, they have taken away the armour specifics, so I'll tell you a rough armour estimate. The armour estimate for this ship is 1mm to 343mm, which is far better than the Fuso, and it's very slightly more than the Warspite. The Warspite only has 1 to 330, so in that respect, the New Mexico has the advantage. The New Mexico has slightly more armour than the Warspite, but the Warspite has slightly more health, so the Warspite has 65 score, and this one has 64. So there isn't really a lot of differences between this ship and the Warspite in terms of armour and health. Okay, so the next stat of the New Mexico is the artillery firepower, and that's 61 out of 100. That's a bit better than the Warspite's 56, but unfortunately not as good as the Fuso's 70. Now this ship has 6 guns on the front on 2 turrets, and 6 guns at the back on 2 turrets, so it's very evenly proportioned. The caliber of these guns is 356mm, which is the same as the Fuso's. The gun's rate of fire is 1.8 rounds per minute, which is quite slow for a battleship. The turn time of these guns is 60 seconds. The accuracy is 209 meters. The average damage for high explosive, which has been given a buff recently, is now 5,000. And the maximum damage for armor piercing is 10,500. A disappointing aspect about these guns is the max range. They're only 14.9 kilometers on this ship. But however, you can now purchase a credit point upgrade which can increase that further. So this ship has the same amount of guns as the Fuso. The Fuso has 6 turrets instead of 4, but the Fuso can fire in excess of 20 kilometers, and this ship cannot. This ship is very much a brawling ship, and it cannot really engage enemies at that far a distance. Apart from the main battery, there is secondary armament, which is pretty much everywhere. We have 9 on each side. 9 of these 127mm guns. And the secondary armament's primary role is to take down cruisers and destroyers in close proximity. Okay, so the next stat of this ship is the anti-air capability, and that's 38 out of 100. Now that's quite good for a battleship at this tier. The Warspite is at a disadvantage, only having 33, and the Fuso is quite a bit worse at only having 30. So this can shoot down some planes. Despite its ability in shooting down planes, it shouldn't be used as a fleet defender. That score is primarily as a self-defense. So the same as many other ships in the game, this is the dual-purpose guns, which act as both anti-air guns and anti-ship guns. Now we're heading towards the weakest aspect of the ship, which is the maneuverability, and that is only 22 out of 100. Now that is a terrible score. That is almost as bad as the Japanese battleship at Tier 10, the Yamato. The maximum speed of this ship is only 21 knots. That's one of the worst speeds in the game. In comparison, the Warspite has 24 knots maximum speed, but you'll notice if you played any of the new American battleships that from the earlier tiers, they're incredibly slow. When you get to tier 8, 9 and 10, they do get a little bit faster, but from sort of tier 7 down, they're very sluggish and slow. Despite, however, it having a bad maximum speed, it does, however, have a fantastic turning circle radius of only 540 meters. Now that's 10 meters better than the HMS Warspite, and quite a lot better than the Fuso. The rudder shift time of this ship is only 16.6 seconds, which is again quite good for a battleship. It's a couple of seconds better than the Warspite, and 7 seconds better than the Fuso. So this ship is very similar to the Warspite in how it turns around. It turns around very quickly to avoid torpedoes and enemy shells. But however, when you start turning in this ship, because your maximum speed is only 21 knots, your speed cuts in half and you end up going 10 knots maximum speed when you're turning. And that makes you a sitting target and very easy to kill. And the last stat of this ship is Concealment, and that's 39 out of 100. You have surface detectability range of 14.2 kilometers and air detectability range of 11.3 kilometers. The British Warspite has the same score, 39 out of 100, and the Fuso is a little bit worse. So you'll notice with the New Mexico that it is very much a brawling ship, with the maximum range of guns of only 14.9 kilometers. You only can really play within cruiser max distances, so I would suggest when you're playing this thing you can either brawl, you can use that high armor to pretty much negate most of the enemy shells, or you can fire at your maximum distance, which is quite high when you get the credit buff. It goes to a maximum of around 17 kilometers. But when you don't have that upgrade, when you're limited to 14.9, you should allow the enemy to come to you, so then you can push the enemy to your maximum range, so they're less of a threat. So there are a number of upgrades for the ship. I will quickly take them off and show you what this is like bare-boned. Okay, so this is the bare-boned ship. As you can see, there is practically no anti-air guns on this ship. You have a basic score of 3, which is terrible, but you do get some nice upgrades down the hull upgrades. So the first upgrade you have a choice of. You can either choose a hull or you can choose a gunfire control system. I would definitely go for the gunfire control system. You need that extra gun range. Your basic gun range in this ship when you first unlock it is only 13.6 kilometers, and at tier 6 in a battleship that is terrible. The Warspite's max gun range is 16.2 and the Fuso is nearly 20, so you're at a massive disadvantage if you don't upgrade your maximum gun range. So this increases your gun range by 10% by 1.3 kilometers, so you can get your guns to a maximum distance of 14.9. And there are unfortunately no gun upgrades for this or engine upgrades. 37,000 horsepower is quite terrible considering how big this ship is, but we'll go with the hull upgrade. Okay, so with the first hull upgrade, it does have a couple of hidden upgrades like this one here, which is the main battery increased rate of fire to 2.0 rounds per minute, and a maximum AP shell damage of plus 300. So instead of a gun upgrade, you just have a hull upgrade which governs everything. You have a decreased rudder shift time of 7.3 seconds, an increased health of 5,000, and increased anti-air capability of 12. And the second hull upgrade decreases your rate of fire by 0.2, so it's back to 1.8, but however it does give you a vast increase in anti-air capability. It gives you plus 23 to a maximum anti-air capability of 38. It also further decreases your rudder shift time of 1.8 seconds, so in my opinion with the matchmaking that this ship can get you up to tier 8 games, it's best to have a better anti-air capability than rate of fire. You'll have lots more planes in the later tiered games and they can blow you to pieces. And of course this decreases your rudder shift time by 1.8 seconds. So they're the upgrades for the ship. You could just not go with this one here if you want to have the increased rate of fire and decreased anti-air capability. That's entirely up to you. But of course you do need this hull upgrade to unlock the Colorado at tier 7. So I have chosen some credit bot upgrades for the ship. The first one is the main battery modification 1, which is a minus 20% chance to magazine detonation, a minus 20% chance to critical damage to main batteries, and minus 20% to main battery repair time. So I've noticed quite a lot from the games I've played in this ship that the guns do get penetrated and they can be damaged or destroyed. So this upgrade decreases how much damage they take and decreases the repair time. The second mod I've chosen here, which is very interesting, which seems like a new one for battleships in the game, which is the Gunfire Control System Modification 1, which is the same name, funnily enough, as the accuracy increase, but however on this ship, it's a plus 16% to main battery maximum firing range, which means you can get these guns in excess of 17 kilometers, which is necessary because of how small the base maximum distance is. So that's a very nice upgrade. The third one I would choose is the Damage Control System Modification 1, which I would choose with all my battleships, which is minus 3% chance to flooding from torpedoes and minus 5% chance to fire. So nowadays with the increased damage in high explosive, everyone fires high explosive almost all the time. So that means you'll be set on fire pretty much all the time. So this decreases the percentage chance of fire from high explosive shells and decreases flooding chances from torpedoes. And the last one I would choose here is the minus 20% to rudder shift time. The maneuverability for a battleship isn't bad. You have 16.6 seconds base rudder shift time, but if you decrease that further by 20%, it means you can turn this around quicker and utilize that quick turning circle radius to avoid torpedoes faster, to avoid enemy shells faster. And again, a very necessary upgrade. Okay, so let's look at a match. Okay, so this is the New Mexico on fault line domination mode. So in the 0.3.1 update, they have changed things around on most of the maps. This map, for instance, a lot of rocks have been moved on A and in the center, which just gives your whole team a bit more cover and slows down the pace of the game. So you can notice immediately in the New Mexico that it does turn very quickly, but the guns, however, do not. So typical of all battleships in the game, you have a heal ability. On this ship, it's the T button, and there is no scout plane. I've noticed in the earlier American battleships that there are no scout planes, so that's a bit of a disadvantage when you're trying to find enemies in the later game. The small targets, the hidden targets like destroyers, but it's not a problem really at this point in the match. As you can see, there are lots of American battleships in this match. This is my first game in 0.3.1 where everyone is playing the American battleships or the Japanese carriers. I'm about to emerge from this rock and there is a through attacker there. I'm going to lead these shots to hopefully deal with the through attacker. You will notice that the noise of the guns is a bit different. So we did just scrape the through attacker. He only took a couple of thousand damage, which isn't an awful lot. There is a Clemson appearing, which is the American destroyer. But at this range, there's no point really firing at Clemson because he can very easily evade my shots. Now the destroyers are coming within close proximity. I'm thinking about doing a broadside. It's probably best to fire high explosive at these things, but at this point I was just testing how the ammunition is now to how it was. There has been some nerfs to armour piercing and some major buffs to high explosive, so I did a broadside there and only hit him for 3,000. And of course he subsequently pops smoke and goes invisible. But I can use that smoke to my advantage as well. It probably means that I'm mostly hidden from the enemy battleships. Most of my team are rushing towards sea at this point. We do have the disadvantage in terms of how many ships we have, but we have the advantage in terms of average tiers. I'm one of the highest tiers in the match, so I need to play this game carefully in order to actually guarantee a win. So there's a Wyoming here still, the one I was duking out with earlier. Just doing a broadside of AP. So I see a Wyoming here. I did unfortunately miss my broadside. He was turning very sharply left, and now with the decreased turning circle radius of pretty much all the ships in the game, he managed to evade. So there is a destroyer here, which I'm about to fire. He's only 5 kilometers away, which is nearing sort of secondary armament distance. Firing a broadside, we only hit him for 6,000. So I've noticed there's a delay now once you hit enemies. Instead of a instant damage comes down, there's like a slight delay for the damage to actually add up. I don't know if that's intended, but it seems a lot slower than it used to be. And of course there are new noises when you hit enemies. There's like a scratching noise, like a sort of a nails down a chalkboard sort of noise. It can get quite irritating. When I find a suitable mod, I will change that. I did think I'd be able to get a couple of hits before he gets torpedoed, but unfortunately I missed. So there is another Wyoming in front of me now. He is an easy target once I get around this rock. I am playing quite cautiously. At this point, I'm almost certain that he can see me. I was playing it a bit cautiously. I was hoping that he would fire before I emerge, but it seems like he was pointing his guns at me anyway. I'm about to emerge from this rock. I only have my 2 front turrets available, which consists of 6 of my 356mm guns. Here they come. 1 Citadel hit. We hit him for 14,000 damage, and it seems like we knocked out one of his guns as well. That was only from 2 of my turrets, so that's not bad. I have allied support from the rear. That is a allied battleship, which is also assisting. I'm turning this thing around to get the very slow turning guns around to hopefully finish off this Wyoming before he reloads. So I have 7 seconds left on reload. These guns are only 1.8 rounds per minute, so I have a 35-second or so reload time in comparison to the Wyoming's 30 seconds. He did fire, but most of his shots did miss. I am now coming within range of secondary armament, and my guns are now reloading in 10 seconds. So he only has 8,000 health left. I know the Wyoming's very slow. I'm about to fire on him now, turning my guns around. Incoming shots, and we finished him off. An extra Citadel hit there for 7,000 damage. The Wyoming isn't the best American battleship, and he did die quite quickly. So there is another Wyoming here. It seems like the enemy team consists of at least half Wyomings, so that's a good advantage for us. We can use our armour and powerful guns effectively. So we did scrape the enemy Wyoming there for only 1,000 damage, which isn't an awful lot, but the accuracy of these guns isn't too good. It's something like 250 meters dispersion, which is one of the worst accuracies for main guns in the game. Firing another broadside here. Unfortunately we miss. There are enemy battleships pretty much everywhere in the middle of the map at this point. Most of my allies have been killed, so it's just 4 of us left versus 5. Firing a broadside at this Wyoming. Another Citadel hit there, and we hit him for 9,000 damage and finished him off. So now it's 4 on 4. There's a Warspite in front of me now, and I know the Warspite has very weak Citadel armor, but he has the advantage over me in terms of max distance. It's good to mention in this replay, I didn't have the credit bar upgrades. This was my first game in the New Mexico, so I didn't have 17 kilometers max distance, I only have the 14.8. I did judge the Warspite speed wrong there, and I did fire mostly into the water. I did lead the shots a bit too far. So now it's 3 on 4. They've managed to get back an extra kill, so it's now 3 on 4. 3 battleships on my team versus 2 battleships, 1 cruiser and 1 destroyer. and they're all clustered in the middle there. I have a reload in 3 seconds. Going to fire at this Warspite. Probably this distance, 12 kilometers away. It should be an effective hit. AP all the way. Let's see how it affects him. 13,000 damage. And as you can see, there is a slight delay when the damage is calculated. It seems like much more of a delay than it used to be. We are being engaged by Wyoming, but the Wyoming's guns aren't particularly powerful. Nothing really to worry about. The Warspite is 10 kilometers away now, but we have a 10-second reload. He is being fired at by my allied battleship on the right there, but now he's sort of straying up towards me. 2,000 health left, and he was knocked out. So now it's 3 on 3. 3 battleships versus 1 battleship, 1 cruiser, and a destroyer. I'm now firing at the Furutaka, which is the cruiser. 6,000 health left, 2,000 health left, and we finished him off. 2 ships left, a destroyer, and a battleship. The destroyer's behind the rock there, so he's no problem for me at the moment. We are winning in terms of cap points, so as long as we manage to get this Wyoming kill, we can guarantee a win, and it should be easy. So Wyoming has 20,000 health left. We have 2-second reload on our guns. He's firing his guns elsewhere, so we'll give the advantage here of surprise. 8,000 health left, broadside coming in, and we finished him off. Another Citadel hit. We managed to kill 4 ships, and of those ships, we managed to get 4 Citadel hits, which is accumulated to quite a lot of damage. Okay, so the last ship available now is the enemy destroyer, and he's 7.6 kilometers away. He's probably feeling sorry for himself. He's 1 destroyer versus 3 battleships. I know which team I would put my money on. He's heading towards A, to hopefully try and cap, but it's kind of in vain. We hit him for 2,100 damage, and we got a Confederate Medal, which is one of the new achievements added in 0.3.1. So at this point in the match, we're winning by quite a large margin. It's only 40 cap points until we win. Us maintaining C cap, unless the enemy destroyer can get a kill within a very short space of time, will cause us to win. So now you can really see the maximum speed of this ship is very poor. I tried my best to get around this rock to fire one last broadside into the destroyer to hopefully finish him off. But unfortunately, this ship only goes to around 20 kilometers max speed, so unfortunately I didn't make it. In that match we managed to accumulate nearly 270,000 credits, nearly 4,200 experience, 207 free experience. We got the Confederate Medal, 32 hits, 4 Citadel hits, 1 critically damaged, and we knocked out 4 ships. So the Confederate Medal, which is one of the new achievements, is damage at least 6 enemy ships, and the damage you do to those ships must exceed 20% of their maximum health. In terms of base experience, we came on top with 1,800, and in terms of damage, we got 91,207 damage with AP. So we managed to get most of that damage from Citadel hits. Citadel hits in this game do a massive amount of damage. So this has been the USS New Mexico, which is the new Tier 6 American battleship. It's a fantastic brawling ship with its very powerful guns and very good armour. So if you like a powerful ship, a very good brawling ship, then this is a ship to buy. It's very powerful in close distance, and it's very powerful at long distance when you buy the increased range mod. So I will go back and look at the South Carolina, the Wyoming, the New York ships, along with the upper tiered ones like the Colorado and of course the Iowa and the Montana. So just a short review for today guys, thanks a lot for watching and I'll see you next time.